men are suffering. They have different problems than women have, but they don't have it better. They need our sympathy, they need our love, and they need each other more than anything else. They need to be together.
Do you think women understand what it's like to be a man?
Not at all. No clue. No idea.
Define what a woman is without reference to the word woman, please.
This is actually a logical fallacy called a red herring. You're asking me a question in order to actually challenge my question without
No,
actually
it isn't. I'm saying
answering
that it really is not. There are objective measures as to whether you're a man or a woman. There are objective measures as to whether you're male or female. There's certainly a spectrum when with regard to effeminateness versus masculinity. That's certainly true, but that does not change the underlying sexual dichotomy that is the basis for all human reproduction.
None of the medical associations that I just named off would actually support the idea that gender is biological. This is something that's completely untrue within every single medical consensus.
Well, then I will just say that anyone who suggests that gender has no reference whatsoever to biology, it's not connected in any way to biology, is just full of shit. Because if the reason I...
She is a she. The irony is not lost on Norah that it took a trip into manhood to help her appreciate her own femininity.
I'm so much closer to myself than I ever was that I really like me. I really like being me, and I really like being a woman.
Did you like being a woman before, Ned?
I did, but I like it more now because I think it's more of a privilege.
That's perfect right there. That's awesome like that. Nice.
Male privilege in the modern era is a myth. In 2020, it was found that 70% of homeless individuals were men. Men are 4 times more likely to commit deletion than women. Men make up 80% of all the murder victims worldwide. Men make up just over half of the workforce, and yet they make up 90% of workplace fatalities. Like Norah was saying, men are in pain, and postmodern feminism refuses to acknowledge their suffering. It's unfortunate that Norah had to figure this out the hardest way possible, and I hope we can all find a way to help her rest by finally helping men to heal.
Norah began to empathize with the fear and stress men feel for having to always be the strong provider. The therapy leader, psychologist John Gornishelli, saw Ned's shyness as typical of a newbie coming to brave the group.
A lot of the guys spoke to me after the retreat and said, talking to him, I felt like I was talking to somebody feminine.
Okay, so remake of my last self-made man video for copyright things, but also my editing has gotten a lot better from 8 months ago, so I am adding a few more transgender clips now that I have my long video content rhythm, I guess you could say, down. So as you watch the whole thing, critical feedback welcome here, since my original video was such a big hit. Also, follow the Tribe of Men. His channel is in the description and I love his content. I am remaking this video because today's modern women do not realize how much of a privilege it is to be a woman and to be in your feminine. We don't appreciate men the way we need to, and I really think that every woman needs to hear Norah Vincent's experience and understand why being a female is a privilege.
No, Norah didn't get a sex change operation. She did it the old-fashioned way, with acting and a disguise. At 5'10", 155 pounds, and wearing men's size 11 shoes, Norah was a natural. When all the pieces are together, hair, makeup, voice, posture, style, the transformation is complete.
Walk like a man, talk like a man, walk like a man.
And Norah Vincent becomes Ned Vincent.
I wanted to enter male spheres of interest and see how men are with each other. I wanted to make friends with men. I wanted to know how male friendships work from the inside out.
Hi, Matt. I'm transgender. I'm born and raised here in New Mexico. My life experience is that I'm an awesome person. I am well-liked. I'm responsible, and I think I'm pretty cool. My family. My long-term friends who are actually here with me. All of these people assure me, like, I'm a woman. They'll tell me, girl, like, there is no way you are a man. They see me as a woman. So the question, how can you assert that nobody would ever see me as a woman when my material experience tells me you're wrong?
Wait, why is he wrong? You either have male parts or you have lady parts. That's what it comes down to. Your biology.
It's interesting that that's the part of my talk you chose to ask a question about, because that's not in my talk at all. I don't believe I said that no one would ever see you as a woman. I mean, it's possible, I suppose, that you could fool someone. Now, you brought this up, so I have to tell you that you brought this up. You've put your identity on the table for conversation. And so I'm going to say you wouldn't fool me at all. I mean, I see a man 100%. And I think that most people would. Now, the fact that you have people in your life who are saying to you, oh, you're totally a woman, it's exactly what I'm talking about. No one in my life has ever once said to me, you're totally a man, Matt. You know, if a friend of mine called me on the phone and said, listen, Matt, I want you to know you're really a man, I would think that there was something wrong with him. I would say, why are you saying that at all? It doesn't make any sense. So the fact that this is a conversation to begin with tells me, it only proves the point that I'm trying to make, that your identity, even in your own mind, is up for, it's something that you need to be assured of.
Ned's first act as a newly minted male was to join that quintessential bastion of camaraderie, a men's bowling team. The only problem was she's a terrible bowler.
I probably bowled before this 3 times in my life, and that was, you know, in high school when you do it with both hands, you know. So it was just insane for me to walk into this place without any.
And why didn't they just run you out of town when they saw how bad you were?
It's an amazing thing because I think, I mean, that shows you the generosity that they had.
It was the first of Norah's many surprises. She thought these guys from a working-class Pennsylvania neighborhood would mock Ned's bowling and reject him as a guy. But from their first meeting, they accepted Ned.
The handshake was unbelievable. It blew me away the first time I shook hands with a guy, a strange guy. And I was amazed because you think of women, you know, we're so nice, we're so easy, men are so mean.
Now, what I would like to ask you, again, because you're standing here, and so you've brought your identity on the table for discussion. So how do you know that you're a woman?
It was first when I heard transgender persons describe their experience in their own words. And this was only about 2 years ago.
Hold up. Look at how she's standing. She's standing like a man. You really can't hide your gender.
Hearing somebody describe things, it was a woman from like England, describing her experience, her childhood, her teenage years. And it blew my mind to be listening to her, because it was just some podcast that I was listening to while I was like doing laundry. But it blew my mind to hear somebody so eloquently and precisely describe things that I had experiences
What
that
was
I
the
had
description?
experienced.
What did they say?
Okay, so
The team had bowled together for 9 months, and gradually, Norah gained entrance into the inner sanctum. She found that all the cussing and good-natured ribbing is just how men often show affection for each other. Norah came to see that between men, intimacy is sadly lacking.
There's a tremendous potential for tenderness between men, and I'm not sure that it's always realized, and it's terribly sad.
Cracking the mystery of a boys' night out is one thing, but what about the explicit world of a man's sexuality?
I really ran smack up against the difference between male and female sexuality, is that female sexuality is mental. It's up here. And male sexuality is a bodily function. It's a necessity. You just have to do it.
You went to a couple of sex clubs. What were you trying to get at?
Well, at first I thought, this is sort of the quintessential guy thing to do, right? The bachelor party at the strip club.
It's horrifying. This shouldn't have been an option for me. It hurts knowing, like, I could have just grown up without any intervention, and I could have been completely normal. I wouldn't be dealing with all of this stuff that I am now. I'm having some pretty serious complications from my surgery, on top of all the trauma that it's caused me. If somebody just told me, like, this isn't going to make you into a boy, and there's no guarantee that doing any of this is going to resolve your distress, you're perfect as you are as a woman. The issue isn't your body, it's the way that you think of it. And no matter what you do to yourself, what drugs you take, what surgeries you get, you're always going to be a woman, and you are enough. I wouldn't be dealing with this right now.
Did anyone say that too?
And why aren't we sharing the after effects of a transformation with this new transgender generation? Why are we encouraging it and even allowing this to happen? Why aren't we warning our kids of the after effects of a sex change? It is traumatizing. You're born either a male or a female, and you can't change your biology. You're a boy or a girl for a reason. We need to have defined masculine and feminine roles in society. Women cannot be men and men cannot be women. And when you're a kid, you're just still figuring yourself out. You aren't confused about your gender. You're just kind of finding your purpose in society. And your purpose in society, I don't know, is almost like your skill. And there are feminine skills and masculine skills. And they're not equal roles because we have different biology. But when we have definitive roles for each gender, we create a stable society. When we break up homes and liberate women, we are creating a weak society.
Anybody who suggests to you that there is such a thing, for example, as a pregnant male is not a doctor, they are an activist.
I am honestly hesitant. I know that you touched earlier about the difficulty that transgender women might have in describing their identity, but I want to state, I honestly don't feel that you would engage in this conversation in good faith.
But why are you here? Why did you stand up to talk to me if you don't want to have a conversation? You're saying that you discovered that you're a woman. I'm asking you how you did. That's a very fair question.
Okay.
How do you know that you're a woman?
That's fine. All right. So first of all, listening to transgender people, and it was like, okay, this is a one-off, one person describing these things. Things like looking at yourself in the mirror and not recognizing yourself. Hearing compliments like, you are such an example, like a positive masculine role model. And just hearing that and being like, it feels like they're talking about somebody else. It means feeling alone, even when you're surrounded by guys, even when you have a lot of friends. And I was active in like Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout.
When I told people initially that I was doing this, they'd say, oh, you got to go to a strip club.
She says the clubs were obviously sexual, but once again lacking in intimacy, which leaves men emotionally frustrated.
I saw the men there. I saw the looks on their faces. I saw them sitting alone, nursing their bourbon. And this is not about appreciation of women, of course. It's not about appreciation of their own sexuality. It's about an urge. And that's not always that pleasurable, really.
These guys who go to these high-priced clubs would say, this isn't about pain, it's about pleasure.
Men have had the tears and the emotional expression sort of pounded out of them from an early age, and so by the time they're men, they don't even have the vocabulary anymore or the emotional awareness to really say what they're feeling.
Norah says strip joints are about pure sex drive, completely empty of any meaningful interaction, even when a woman is gyrating on your lap.
I had great masculine role models my whole life, and yet I never felt like I belonged. I felt welcome and included.
Why does that make you a woman?
Because
as opposed to just a man who doesn't get along with some other men, or a man who's depressed, or a man who doesn't feel at home totally in his body, which, by the way, is a pretty universal human experience. Everybody goes through it at one time or another. So in what way does that make you a woman, though? And it's interesting. You're telling me that you listen to the experiences of other transgender people.
Well, yeah.
But what about women?
So
because trans women are women, you would say, right?
I would say that, yeah.
Exactly the same?
Yes.
Okay, well then why do you need to hear the testimony of quote unquote trans women? Like how you pick any actual woman in this room. In what way do you know that you belong in the same category as them?
I know because they tell me.
But you're attracted to women. Were you ever aroused during any of these?
I really ran smack up against the difference between male and female sexuality, is that female sexuality is mental. It's up here.
Whereas for men, Norah says, sexuality is, shall we say, below the waist.
At its core, it's a bodily function. It's a necessity. It is such a powerful drive, and I think because we don't have testosterone in our systems, we don't understand how hard it is.
So it never gets cold where you back in Australia?
Throughout the project, Ned dabbled in the art of picking up a woman.
Where'd your friend go?
We went with him to this bar, wearing hidden cameras.
This is my friend JC, I'm Ned.
Norah was reminded that in this arena, it's women who have all the power.
We sit there and we, just with one word, no will crush someone. And the thing is, we don't have to do the part where you cross the room and you go up to a stranger and say the first words. And those first words are so hard to say without sounding like a cheese ball or sounding like a jerk or whatever else.
So here was the...
You need them to tell you what you are?
Women. Yes. I trust the opinions of the women around me.
And if most women...
It's incredible. You might try it sometime.
If most women voted and said they don't see you as a woman, would you say I'm not a woman anymore?
If who?
If most women voted and said they don't see you as a woman anymore, would you then relent and say, I'm not a woman?
I would say most people on the planet have no idea who I am. I'm going to trust the opinions of the people who've spent their lives with me.
Whatever else.
And what do you guys do?
Norah says the brush-off Barbara Jones gave Ned was typical.
She was just sort of emblazoned with hostility, you know, just looked at you and you saw everything cross her face, which was, oh, God, help me, not again. I'm trying to have a drink with a friend, and I've got to deal with you.
Barbara was trying to dispose of Ned before her friend returned from the bathroom.
Anyway, we haven't seen each other in a while, so just to let you know, I've got to head out to the office.
But Ned returned and told Barbara the truth about her gender.
You're saying you gave us all the lines, like, try to get rid of us. I see it, and as a woman, I have such sympathy. I'm like, oh, I hate being this guy that you're trying to get rid of. You know?
Talking to a woman, Barbara seemed more open and friendly, and in the end, actually apologized for how she had treated Ned.
So I'm sorry for being bitchy.
Please.
And this is why women cannot give men advice on how to pick up other women. It's easy to sit there and give advice to men on what they should do when you're the one constantly on the receiving end of advances where you literally don't have to do anything. They just put on a nice dress and everything else is done for them by men. Men control the entire interaction. She just has to utter the words yes or no, shows interest or not. And you got to walk away. You got to learn to build yourself up as a man. It's conditional when you approach a woman. You have to already have a bunch of things just to go up to a woman and not get shut down. You have to be that guy. And you have to learn how to read cues too, body language. You have to read the room. You have to read the person. Before you ever even approach a woman, you have to learn all these things. And the tenets are always the same. There's 3 of them. You got to be the right guy, which takes years to build up to. It's got to be the right place and the right time.
But you are relying on other people to tell you who you are, is what we're establishing.
For context, I know you like to think, I know you like to say, everybody's rah-rahing and supporting transgender people and yet they're still killing themselves, etc. But I'm standing here in a room full of people applauding you and asking questions. I'm not safe. And it
How are you not safe? You just said you're standing in a room with people who disagree with you and you're perfectly fine. So how are you not safe? Okay, look, we're going round and round. You don't want to answer any of the questions. Maybe we'll end with this because we're talking about womanhood. So people can probably shout out the question I'm going to ask you right now.
Okay.
But you know that you're a woman.
Yes.
What is that?
Does that kind of living in the skin of a man in the bar scene, in the dating scene, give you a different kind of respect for men?
It gives me a certain definite sympathy. And I don't mean that there's any disrespect, but it just makes me understand what's going on.
Norah, as Ned, also went on about 30 dates with women, mostly arranging them on the internet.
Did you have any fun?
Rarely.
It was just
pretty
an ordeal.
unpleasant. Yeah.
She says the pressure of Ned having to prove himself was grueling. Norah was surprised that many women had no interest in a soft, vulnerable man.
My prejudice was that the ideal man is a woman in a man's body. And I learned, no, that's really not. There are a lot of women out there who really want a manly man.
Ultimately, Ned told most of his dates that he was Norah. Many of the women reacted angrily, but usually just for a little while. Some women wanted to continue the relationship.
They remained interested in pursuing something further, you know, so whereas...
Sexually?
Yeah.
So gender is a social thing? It only makes sense.
I don't want to hear that. What is a woman? What is a woman?
What is a woman?
The word woman, define in the dictionary. Go.
A woman is somebody who is included and respected and seen and participates in society, recognized by other women. If you speak with women...
Circular definition.
That's mine. Whatever.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
This is how society keeps you down. This is why they love feminine men, because they consume the same things women consume: social media, drama. They're not actionable. They don't do nothing. They don't go out into the world to make experiences, to gain power, influence in their communities. That's a threat to the status quo. You have to find a tribe. Men can form strong bonds that run deeper than family. Believe it or not, a brotherhood is something that you can have for life when you meet the right men around you that uplift you, that you uplift, and you can go far together. I'm telling you, do everything in your power to find one of those. It can literally save your life.
Norah was unraveling. She felt guilty about lying, as though she should be punished. In the final ritual of the weekend, the men were to act out the problems unearthed at the retreat with a partner.
And you asked that he harm you.
Yeah, I did. At that point, I was starting to really kind of crack up. I was really...
You were coming unglued.
Yeah.
So you were asking this guy to cut you?
To cut me. So self-mutilation is very much a female thing.
Welcome to the Man Key Dating Channel, where we talk about the feminist movement mixed with female liberation in today's dating market. Please click the subscribe button, please like the video, and be nice as you come along with me on my learning journey as a single mother dating a high-value man.